Thanks for tuning in to the Animal Control Report podcast, where we help debunk the dog catcher stereotype. A lot of times people think it's the dog catcher when they hear about animal control officers, but here on the Animal Control Report, we change that by taking you inside the day-to-day operations of animal control officers. Not only will you hear stories of animal control officers, but you'll hear from industry experts as well. We are also part of the Keep It Humane podcast network. We have some amazing partners there, so check them out at keepithumane.com/podcast network. You can listen to all the animal control and animal welfare related podcasts there. And let's continue to help people help animals. Welcome to another episode of the Animal Control Report podcast with your hosts,
Ashlee Bishop.
Oh, wait, the other Ashlee Bishop's not here today, but Daniel Ettinger is here. So it's just me and you.
It is.
That's it's the first time in a long time that the two of us have been together.
It is. It's been a hot minute.
That's good. So, I was going to ask for your funny story, but before I do that, hold on. Please check out our website, keepithumane.com, and all the socials. That is, it's so funny how you don't want to give anybody your social security number, but we give them all of our social media. Here, take this social, but not that social. Anyway, that's Keep It Humane or the Animal Control Report, pretty much on every social, one or the other. So check it out. Also check these episodes out on YouTube and Spotify. If you didn't get a chance to check out last week's felony animal cruelty episode, you'll want to check that out. There's a lot of cool pictures and stuff on those YouTube platforms and the Spotify video platform. So that's what I got. I don't have you know what? No, I do have something else. Sorry,
You always have more.
Yeah, but I know you want to tell your story, and it's probably
no, it's fine. What else do you got?
So, I actually licensed my dog. I know.
Are you saying you don't normally do that?
I haven't. Don't tell anybody, but I haven't licensed him in like forever. I think this is his first license, but it's fine. I want to be responsible. I'm a responsible dog owner, and it's through Pet Hub. Everybody talks about Pet Hub. It's like the new thing, and it has the QR code on the tag, and then you can, when you set it up, you can pick and choose like who you want. So like if I'm not available, there's going to be a list of this many people that aren't available. So I'm going to throw some random people on there just to see what happens if he ever gets lost. And then they call those random people that I haven't talked to in years, and that'll just be fun. What? Why are you calling me? My only, if Pet Hub, and I know you're not listening, and this is not an advertisement for Pet Hub, but my recommendation to them, so when you go in to set it up, you have like a 3-tier option. Tier 1 is like your basic plan, just like here's phone numbers, and then there's like something with Tier 2 and Tier 3. I didn't really look into it because it costs money, but what they should have done and what they should do is partner with some sort of pet insurance company and add a tier that when you get your tag, you can then right there just get pet insurance. But
either way, that's not licensing.
Hmm?
That's not licensing.
Pet insurance?
No, what you're talking about through Pet Hub.
No, they license.
Well, it's got to be through each jurisdiction then. Like they have to, because like my jurisdiction doesn't use Pet Hub, so it wouldn't work for me to go through them.
Yeah, but so I'm obviously like a lot of agencies partner with Pet Hub. And then Pet Hub is the one who makes the tag and then has all the information on the outside source. Next time you're at a conference, go to their booth and they'll tell you all about them.
I think I was, and I've tried to get my jurisdiction to utilize them, but that's
that's a topic for, yeah, we'll save that. So what's your funny story, dude?
Well, speaking of, this is probably the most embarrassing thing that I have ever had to deal with in my entire 20 plus years in animal welfare.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it gets any worse than this.
Okay.
I got released to go back to full duty on Wednesday. So I have been back on the road, hitting it hard. Supposed to be doing a lot of licensing, but can't because I've got like 4 or 5 cases that I'm working on all at once, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
So Friday, I get to work and I'm trying to figure out my day and figure out what follow up I'm doing when, and I get a call to go pick up a dog. So one of the CSOs was like, "Hey, can I just tag along? I don't really have anything to do right now." And I'm like, "Sure, not a big deal." And I show up at this house that I've been at before because the gentleman has more than two dogs. And so he has a pet fancier permit. Real
Okay.
nice guy, great conversation. So I show up at the house and he's waving at me, and his golden retriever is outside, and one of his Pomeranians is outside. And he starts telling me, he's like, "Yeah, we're working on this other house a couple blocks away. And this dog showed up and just wouldn't leave. Super friendly. He's like, the dog's been great, but the dog wouldn't go home. So I brought him here and called you." And he opens up his house door to let the dog out. And it's my fucking dog.
Shut up. Did you write yourself a ticket?
So, funny thing. Um,
Wait. Rewind. How far away is this from your house?
he was found literally like the next block over, like on the other side of the street.
All right.
And I don't keep a collar on him because he has allergies and it irritates his skin.
Same. Mooney does. Yeah.
So he's microchipped, but he's not he didn't have a collar on. And we had no idea he was out. No idea how he even got out. So of course I go to like he comes running at me and I'm like, "Rex!" And the guy looks at me and he goes, Do you know him?" And I'm like, "It's my dog." And then, of
Oh,
course, I can't even put a slip lead on him because he's just like so excited that he's just bounding around like an idiot. So I look even stupider because I can't even control my own
he's like,
dog at this moment.
Mom, look what I did.
"Yeah, Mom, look at my new friends. I got a new golden retriever friend and a Pomeranian friend." And like, I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so stupid." So I take my idiot home and I went back to the office and I walked into my boss's office and I said, "Do I need to have the CSO write me a citation?" And she looks at me and she goes, "What did you do?" And I said, "I just had to go pick up my dog." She
Oh
goes,
my
"Well,
goodness.
did he bite anybody?" And I said, "No." I said, "Absolutely not." She's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it."
You should have wrote Tim though. You should write your husband. I mean, it's his fault. He was home.
Well, here's the
Tim,
thing.
Tim, you're getting a ticket.
Here's the thing though, the kids put him out in the yard, and I don't know if the front gate had been open and we didn't know it, because I watched the cameras even and I couldn't see him leave the property. Um, but then we all left together to take me to work.
Okay.
And so I think I was actually still technically home when he took off.
I don't know if our listeners have any insight, but I think either you need to write yourself a ticket, or Tim needs to write you a ticket, or you need to write Tim a ticket. I'm sorry.
I have approved by a supervisor that nobody needs a ticket.
That's great. Was that the first call ever, like back on after light duty?
No. Oh
Okay.
God, no. Dan, my first day back from light duty, I was supposed to be done at 5. I didn't get done till 6, and I had a working lunch.
Okay. So you've been
It
busy.
it has been stupid busy.
Well, welcome back. We're glad to have you in the field. And another person we're glad to have in the field. We're going to introduce our next guest, and she is an ACO. She was like, I was like, "How do you want to be introduced?" She's like, just an ACO. So Animal Control Officer Jessica Kooistra. Jessica also, I think I said it right, Bishop. What? Uh,
Oh, that's amazing.
Jessica,
Mark it on the calendar.
welcome to the Animal Control Report.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We're really
More
happy to
than
have you. I was obviously doing some internet stalking as we prepare for the show, and holy animal control officer, you have a lot of stuff, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this a little while, so I guess there's some things out there in the
how long?
interwebs.
How long you been doing it?
This October, it'll be 16 years with 2 years at the shelter, doing kennel stuff. And then the rest of my time was spent on the road doing animal control duties.
Okay.
So been at it for a minute, but sounds like you guys have too. So you can
Do you
relate.
miss the shelter stuff at all?
Some days I do, just because you really do get to kind of deal more with the animals rather than the public on that side. Whereas obviously animal control, we deal mostly people and
Yeah.
not so much snuggling puppies and kittens. So that part I miss. But I do enjoy being out there and doing my own thing and being out in the field and, doing my day the way I want to do it instead of being in a building with everyone. So
Awesome.
That's really cool. And so you've worked for a few different agencies, it looks like, as I follow your career online, or is that right?
well, it's the same agency. We switched from being under the shelter, which was part of the health department in the county, to the sheriff's department about 2.5, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I can't remember.
Okay.
So
And
now we're officially under them. Yeah.
it looks like you wrote a blog post recently. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it got a lot of positive feedback, I would say, a lot of interaction.
I love the feedback I get from fellow ACOs and people in the animal welfare field. I also get comments on my blog from just, random people that don't really know
Understand.
what we do and understand exactly. So that's interesting too to read that part of it. But I like that it's, I guess, being well received with you guys out there. So that kind of makes me happy.
Bishop, and I don't know if you saw it, and I'll send you the link, Bishop, right now, but it's the myth about no-kill shelters. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and we
I don't
didn't
know that
like, I know we talk a lot about that on this program. We really do. We talk about the verbiage and some of that type of stuff. But we didn't bring you on just to talk about your blog. Honestly, um, it wasn't it wasn't something that you even wrote before we set you up to come on the program, which is
Right.
yeah.
I
We
actually have a question for her, Dan.
well, go ahead. I was just just I wanted to clarify that like it's not specifically that we have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Um, so actually unrelated to that, you said you worked for both the shelter and now the sheriff's department. So for somebody who, is either getting into animal control or just has never been able to do anything else, other than, one or the other of those, how do you prefer the structure? Like, would you prefer going back to being based out of a shelter, or do you prefer it out of the sheriff's department?
I I actually do like where we are now
Okay.
because our job does require so much on the law enforcement side of things. And people are only getting crazier out there, as we all know, especially when it comes to their pets. And it's
Yes.
nice to have that backbone of the law enforcement part, the sheriff's department. We get the tools we need. When we switched over, we were all taser certified. um you know Pepper spray or mace. They talked about getting us firearms, but so far it hasn't, and I don't know that I necessarily need it. But we're on the same channel as all the deputies around us. Dispatch, everything's connected, all our reports are connected, and so it makes it a lot safer for us, and I really like that part of it. um yeah, there's a bigger thing that we're working under, a bigger umbrella, I guess, than the small little shelter. But we're not having to um plead for our equipment and things that we need for the job and for safety. So it's been a nice change, actually.
Okay.
And I have to agree. Like when I worked under our sheriff's office in Colorado, one of the sheriff offices there, that it's a different. It is a little bit different when it comes to resources. Did you have to get tasered? Was that required for you to hold it?
To be tased, you mean? Or
Yeah, yeah.
um They don't require it, but everyone did it, and so yeah,
Peer
I
I've been
pressure.
tased.
I opted out. I was like, there.
And
Oh,
honestly, I'd rather be tased again than pepper
pepper
sprayed. That
spray.
was awful. So yeah.
Yeah, I opted out of that. I was like, there is no way. I was like, they don't make any of these cops get shot to carry a firearm. So why are we doing the other
That's true.
less lethal? Like, what's going on here? Just somebody at one point had the idea, like, well, let's just do it. Like, it'll be good and maybe funny. I don't know. I think it's the dumbest thing on the planet to have to like subject yourself to unnecessary pain. There's no way. No way.
Yeah. I can understand the pepper spray though,
Can you make the argument?
because,
Make the
huh?
argument because no one gets shot. What if you get
Right.
shot?
But when you use the pepper spray on somebody else, you're also going to be affected by it. And so this shows you how you can fight through it to continue to
Your
fight with the
argument
person
is
and take
null and void because
how.
you could get shot just as easily as pepper spray could flow back in your face and they don't shoot you and say, all right, work through it, bro.
Yeah, because you're not normally going to work through it after you've been shot, Daniel.
You might have to, though. Your argument is null and void. There's no need to get pepper
I
sprayed. No
disagree.
need to get
New
tased.
poll, new
No,
Facebook poll.
no need. Do not do it. It doesn't make you cooler. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to do it. Not getting pepper sprayed. I'm not getting tased. I'm not getting hit with a billy club either.
No, just get hit with a 80-pound meat missile of a dog.
Well, that's different. I got hit in the leg with like a 60-pound meat missile of a dog. Jessica, we're getting off track here. So Bishop and I are well, the other bishop too. She's we're sending our best to her. She'll be back soon. She'll be back really soon. We're gonna do a show probably before the end of the year of we're gonna pick where we would think the most fun places to do animal control will be. So like what city that would be and why. So what makes your city a fun place to do the job?
Boy. Well, we have jurisdiction for the whole county. So we have one large city in the middle of it that we're also, and majority of our calls obviously end up in there, but we
Okay.
also do a lot of, country rural stuff around it. So we do everything. So in one day you can do downtown, going through the alleys, trying to find a dog, driving your truck through a place that you barely fit, garbage everywhere, and just total downtown. And then the next call is a horse, 20 miles away that you have to go check on. So that's kind of fun because it's very diverse and our city's a little big city. So it's not really big. It's growing, but it's not like New York or Chicago or something crazy. So
However, you do have winter like 9 months out of the year where you're
uh,
at.
I
I
don't know if
know.
I missed it. We did not say where she's out of, Dan.
Nah, we're probably just out of anonymity. We're not going to say it.
Which state? Can we go with which state?
It's a cold state.
It's a cold state.
It's a
And I
cold
would love to move one day because of the cold. I hate the
Yeah.
snow. And yes, working in it is not fun at all.
Yes.
So
I'm
So
also in a cold
when
state.
we draft Bishop,
Yes.
I'm probably not drafting any cold weather. Like, I mean, I
Oh,
get
yeah.
it. Like some of the cold weather calls actually like, go like, and I'm sure you've done it obviously all three of us have worked cold weather areas where you pulled a dog from a backyard because it's ice cold and the owners didn't provide a proper care. So like, not that necessarily that's a fun call, but it's like a rewarding
Interesting.
call.
Yeah.
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 Like
Nope.
literally having to save them because they will freeze to death very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely those. So
Yeah.
or coming to a call and it is already frozen and stuck to the floor of the doghouse and now you can't even get it out because trying to load up the entire doghouse to thaw it out enough to actually remove the body off the bottom of the floor. So those are always interesting. Yeah.
That's sad.
I assisted on a case similar to that one time that it was really frustrating because the defense was saying that, well, they are huskies, they're bred for this, and they are um athletes because they were supposed to be sled specific, and they weren't even purebred huskies, they were mutts. Um, and so their argument was, "Oh yeah, they're gonna be thin and being kept outside is okay."
Mm.
So,
I visited a uh, sled dog. What would you call that? Um,
team?
team, or it was a sled dog place, and they were, and not that it's similar in the aspects of dog fighting, but they're tied out similarly. If you've ever been
Mm.
to like a dog fighting, so they're all on tie outs, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to jog my memory right now if they had dog houses or not, and I think they had to have. Um, but they preferred being out in the cold, and it's cold where that was. I'm talking like in the negatives at night, and I'm just like, I wouldn't prefer that lifestyle for a dog. I mean, it's not, I'm over here talking about how we make our animals part of our tax returns over here on the Animal Control Report podcast. So I'm like, I'm probably not the guy that's going to be like, I get it, like there are working needs and things for dogs, but
Yeah.
outside of like keeping the tradition going of dog racing or sled racing, whatever they call that, like there's really no need for it unless you live in Alaska. Like we're just doing it like the place specifically, it's a tourist trap. So they do it because people want to go and do a sled dog tour. And it's like, is it really necessary? Like, oh, cool. I got pulled on a sled by a dog. That's great. Go get an
Mm.
ATV. That's how I think. Or what are those things called? Not ATVs, but the ones that go on ice and snow.
Snowmobile?
That's the one.
You're from Colorado. You can't tell me that they didn't
Well,
have snowmobiles.
I'm not from
Or okay, fine, but you lived there for a significant amount of time.
very long, almost longer than I ever lived in Pittsburgh, which is would almost make me from there. No, I actually never have been on a snowmobile, but I've been on jet skis. Been on jet skis. All right, we digress. Jessica,
Again.
tell me do you have a memorable call, a good one that's like a fun story, maybe not something that is as bad as like being stuck to the floor of a doghouse?
Yeah, and actually that one we were just assisting like some other agency that needed to raid a house
Oh,
for
wow.
arresting some drug dealer and happened to find the dead dog in the backyard on top
Mm.
of it. So, um, oh boy, I it's always hard when you're running through your head
I know, I
all the
put you on
different
the spot.
calls, but I mean, I the majority of them obviously are dog calls. We get a fair amount of cat calls, even though we don't technically pick up cats unless it's a welfare situation or investigation specifically involving a cat. I like the random other animal, snake, pigs. Those are the fun ones that s- keep you doing this job when it starts to get real monotonous and you're like, oh, and then you get a fun one. You're like, yeah, I get paid to do this, and then it's, years ago we had a call about a snake some guy found in the backyard. He didn't think it was native, but he described it as 4 or 5 feet long, and it's got to be some giant constrictor. This and so everyone's excited. They actually sent the fire department, the police department. So they were all there when I got to the call, and
That's
so
just
I'm
that they
driving
were
up there.
nosy. They were just
Yeah. Oh,
nosy.
they just wanted to go. Nobody's done anything with this. They're just like, it's over there. I'm like, okay. So I get there with my little ACO van and everything. I'm like, oh, yep, that's just, regular little somebody's pet that either escaped or they, let go on purpose. And it's just laying there in the sun on this next to the garage and not moving, like clearly either sick or just, whatever. And so they're all around everybody. And I just go and I pick it up and yep, it's obviously, not native to Michigan. So it's just a constrictor of some kind. They're like, oh my gosh. And my coworker shows up because nosy, heard a snake call, hates snakes. So he didn't even help. I don't know why he came. But it was the funniest thing because everyone's crowded around. We have all these different agencies. No one's taking charge or securing this animal, putting a bucket over it, grabbing it, nothing. Everyone's just standing around waiting. They're talking about what tongs I have to use, snake tongs. I'm like, I don't know a ton about snakes, but I know it's just a pet snake. So yeah, that was kind of fun to just pick up that ball python and just be like, yep, we'll go ahead and take that to the shelter. And I just got all these guys around me just staring at me and telling my coworker he's got to buy me a beer now. And, so stuff like that. Are just funny things that you still remember. And yeah.
That's cool.
That are fun.
It
calls,
always
not
amazes
sad
me
calls.
when they wanna the other agencies decide that they want to get involved and then they stand there like behind you.
Yeah.
Like, nope, we're just here to peek. We're just watching,
They got their phones out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the
It's
guns,
funny
like
when
Yeah.
literally had them, we're chasing an aggressive dog around and they're having their guns. I'm like, don't shoot me. Oh, point that somewhere else, please. Like, let me do my job. We'll get the dog.
Right.
We don't need you pointing your shotgun at us while we're chasing the dog. It's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting
yeah.
how you get into that aspect, like how we've become so, I feel like it's undervalued how expert, that's not the right word, but it is the right word, but I'm not using it in the right way. Like you've been doing this job, you said 16 years. So you started when you were like 16. That's cool. I didn't know they had junior ACO programs. It's fine. But no, in all seriousness, like, and I say this a lot, like the longer you do the job, I feel like if you allow yourself to evolve in that aspect, the more likely you are able, like just from your body language and how you approach an animal, the more you're able to communicate from that aspect. Versus when I first started, shit, I was catch poles and like I'll be honest, like a fear in some aspects. Like, but now, obviously I sit in an office, so I'm not out in the field like I used to be, but I still have that. So whether I'm at a dog park or just see a random dog, people are always like, how did you get my dog to like want to come over and say hi? I'm like, they just they recognize that body language. Like we show ourselves in a different way. And I think police officers in general, they don't deal with it unless they're like canine cops and stuff like that. They don't deal with it on our level.
Mhm.
And so I think they're always like surprised how easy it is for us to deal with those
Mhm.
aggressives or even just misunderstood, fearful animals too.
Yeah. Yeah. Body language is a huge part of our job, like how we approach animals, especially dogs that are fearful, aggressive at that moment, and that's something you definitely just learn over time doing this job. And I've had a lot of those things where you pull up on scene, there's already so and so many people, around the dog trying to keep it from running off, but it's just barking at him. And I come up and you just kind of lean down a little bit and he just runs right to you. You put the leash on, they're like, what did you
Unless
do?
it's
I'm
your
like,
own dog.
I'm not,
I can't
yeah, that
believe
too.
that with Rex, bro.
Oh.
Ah, so yeah, it's a definitely like, yeah, it's a huge part of our job that a lot of people don't realize.
It is. It is. Um I think like it's really a neat attribute that we have that will carry for life. Even if you get out of the profession for whatever reason, you'll always have that ability. It's almost like that innate
Bad
ability.
animal mojo.
Yeah,
That's what I call it.
100%. That's why I feel like if I ever see an orca when I'm on the ocean and I jump in there, it'll be like, oh, that's him. Like that's Daniel. We know what's up. And then they'll just be like, they won't toss me in the air 40 feet. Like they'll just like come over, let me pet them on their head a couple of times. And they might even give me a ride. Like they'll be like, grab my dorsal fin. And I'll be like,
Mm.
okay, because I can speak whale too. And then I'll grab it. And then we'll go like to Catalina Island for the day. And then I'll go do my thing. And then they'll just be waiting there for me. And then I'll take them back.
I really hope that somebody is recording that when it happens, because that would make us some money on YouTube.
Also, I feel like a hippo wouldn't kill me if I went into their pond in Africa. They'd just be like, what's up, bro?
Oh,
I'd be like, hey, hippo, like, we good? And then the hippo would be like, yeah, we're good. And I'd be like, that's because I help people help animals. And they would be like, yeah, that's cool, bro. And then they wouldn't stomp me to death. I think that would happen, but the reality is I would die.
Yeah, don't try that with a hippo.
yeah, yeah. And now we know how Dan dies. Got
Yeah.
it.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of want to read this blog. Bishop, should I read the blog? I kind of, Jessica, do you feel okay? I mean, you could say no, it's fine. We can edit all that out. Like, we don't have to read it, but I
I
think it's
don't care. Are you talking about the post couple weeks ago that got the comments on it, or
the no kill one.
yeah? No,
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, it's kind of long.
it's not that
I don't
long.
care.
I'm talk about reading. Like I'm the
And full disclaimer, it's my blog, it's my opinion. It's not, research based or anything. It's just for me doing this for a while and my opinion on the subject. So
well, I want should you read the blog? I mean, what do you think, Bishop? Should I read it or should it's her words?
I mean, you have a hard time with words.
It's really powerful. I really
oh,
I
yeah.
didn't intend, honestly, I didn't intend to have you on to talk about it, but it is really powerful and it is
Thanks.
something that I want our listeners to hear. And they can go, like, if they want to see it themselves and read it themselves. Animalwelfaremindset.com is where it's hosted, right? And then / the myth about no kill shelters with hyphens between each, or dashes between each, the myth about no kill shelters. And we can link it in the show notes too. So if anybody wants to just go in the notes and click on the link, they can do that too.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's just I started the blog last year. It's just in a funk. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And I wasn't sure, I wasn't really happy with where I was at in life and had some things to work through. And writing to me is a big stress reliever. So that's why I kind of did
100%.
that. And this is just one of many posts that are on there. I mean, there's all kinds of different funny, sad, opinion posts, whatever. So if
So,
anybody's bored enough to go look through it, have at it.
so there'll be a book coming soon, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know about that. I have no idea how to even go about stuff like that. So
It's not that hard. Just write and then have somebody edit it, put it on Amazon, people download it.
I just love that other people like that are in the same,
Mindset. Yeah,
mindset, yeah, that are reading it and then the feedback I get from it. So that alone is sort of a therapy for myself, I guess. So
absolutely.
makes me happy to know
All right.
that.
So do you, I think, I mean, I don't want to, again, I don't want to put you on the spot. I think it might be better coming from your words, but I'll be happy to
No,
read.
go for it. I'm not good at reading.
All right, here we go, people.
Neither is he.
People bear with me. Again, animalwelfaremindset.com, the myth about no kill shelters. And at any point, Jessica, if I mess stuff up, just let me know. The myth about no kill shelters. You find a lost dog in your neighborhood and ask friends for advice on what to do next. One person tells you to bring the animal to the shelter. Another tells you absolutely not. They will just kill it. You contact a local rescue that is known to take dogs and are told they are full. Someone else mentions the local humane society might be a better option than the county shelter, but then another chimes in that they also euthanize animals. What are you to do with this stray dog? Is the advice you were just given by multiple people really sound? I personally hear the misguided information about kill shelters versus no kill shelters constantly. Why does an animal shelter resort to euthanasia? It could be space, it could be an outbreak of disease, it could be the animal in their care is beyond help, and it could even be that they offer this service to the general public who can't afford to make an appointment at their local vet. Vilifying an organization that only exists because of the negligence of its general public and is forced to make hard decisions to remain available to said public is one of the most disturbing things about working in animal welfare. On one hand, the public demands that shelters exist. On the other hand, they demand it is run the way that they believe to be correct. A shelter should be available to take in absolutely all unwanted animals in the community, while simultaneously finding them a happy ending. These unrealistic expectations have found their way onto social media platforms where voices grow loud and pressure is put on an organization which attempts to appease this loud public, often to unhealthy levels. Rescue organizations who proudly boast the no-kill only exist because they can choose which animals they take in and how many. The ones they turn away often end up at a local pound anyway. So are they truly no-kill? Don't get me wrong, I would love to live in a world where no animal would ever die needlessly and unwanted, thrown away and forgotten at a local shelter, but this is not a perfect world. Far from it. The model doesn't work. As I write this, our local, municipal, tax-funded county shelter is full, and I mean full. Every cage is spoken for. Between the many stray animals being held and the adoptable animals seeking a new home, they have nowhere else to cram in any more living beings. However, everyday animal control officers still have their job to do, and this often involves bringing in a stray or abandoned animal or a cruelty case. And the phone's still ringing daily at the shelter desk with people wishing to surrender a pet. So, what is a shelter to do? When I started working there 15 years ago, it would have meant pulling dogs and cats to euthanize for space. The undesirable colors, the oldest, the weakest, the ones that have been there the longest, though no fault of their own, they ended up in a place where they are put to death just to make room. And while the county shelter I work for has changed this protocol many years ago, plenty of shelters in other communities are still operating this way today. You cannot demand change from the overworked, underpaid shelter staff. You need to first demand it from your own community. Your neighbor with the unaltered female dog that is allowed to run loose and has an oops litter. The friend who doesn't want to get his male dog neutered because he believes somehow it'll take away from his manhood. The family down the street who allows their cats and dogs to run loose constantly, and when one is taken to the shelter, they simply just get a new one instead of reclaiming this pet. The many people you know, despite modern advances in microchip identification, make no effort to properly mark their pets so they'll be easily returned if lost. All of this contributes greatly to the overcrowded shelters in your community. They are the reasons shelters earn the label kill shelter. They are the reasons tough decisions have to be made. If every member of the community were mindful and responsible, shelters would sit empty. The only way to truly achieve no-kill shelter status is to hold the public accountable. They are the beginning of the chain. Don't buy into the myth that shelters are forced to euthanize are somehow the problem, that they are the fault, that they are less important than the rescue or the Humane Society who calls themselves no-kill. They are forced to exist. Place blame where it truly belongs, the irresponsible public. But not only the voice for the animals, but for the hardworking shelter staff in your community. Inform yourself, spread facts, not myths. I mean, it's incredible. You're capturing everything that I think we see on a day-to-day basis that we see. Like, we're familiar with that. I think what our general public sees is exactly what you captured. And I mean, it's really brilliant in that aspect, putting it into the words from our point of view.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a very nice article or blog, and it's interesting to me though too how all of a sudden this year, have you noticed, Dan, just the blow up about no kill all of a sudden this year?
Like you're talking about in the aspects of saying that it's just people are had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's come to the point where people had enough. I mean, I talked about it on our last episode where I was with, someone at a conference that truly tried telling me that terminology isn't used anymore. And I'm like, is this dismissive behavior? Or are you doing it just to get a rise? Like, I don't understand it. I think people are now seeing I guess, side effects or effects of what's happening. And I just imagine, would we be in the same place if they came up with this idea of no kill and said 75% meant no kill? Because like 90% is what's 90%? It's the same thing. It's just an arbitrary number.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's it's a matter of, and we say it all the time, like it doesn't even necessarily mean that it has a huge effect on us, but it's the citizens' perspective of what that term means, and the people who don't know the behind the scenes of it.
Right.
And they're the ones that are putting such a strain on us, which is making it so much harder for us to do our jobs in a way that is responsible and ethical and the way that we should be doing it, because perception is everything, unfortunately.
So, Jessica, was there an impact moment for you? And I'll give a quick example of what I'm kind of asking is like, I think what really hit me one time, it happened, I mean, a lot, but there was one example that I give where I was picking up a French bulldog, and the teacher at the elementary school who found it was like waiting there with the other. There were like two teachers there, and then one was kind of just waiting there, and you can tell through body language they were just like, I don't think they were happy that we were even called. And so the first thing out of that teacher's mouth is, are you going to kill it? And I'm like, you're in what? Like I tell the story a lot where I actually broke my microchip scanner because I dropped it out of just pure shock. And you know how you have to like push on the screen to see the chip numbers. Um, I literally dropped it, and I admit like I didn't take the best approach. I should have tried to approach it more compassionate. But I was at that point I was angry because it's like you hear it so much, so much, so much that you finally get to that boiling point. So was there something that triggered you to write this blog?
Um, yeah, I totally get that. I've heard that line, I don't know how many times in my career. Where it's just, well, how many days does he have before you kill it? You know,
Hmm.
like I'm
Hmm.
gonna just give him this countdown number. Like there's just a set date,
Hmm.
and then you try to be, educate them and be politically correct about how you answer that question, but inside you're just like, oh my God, really? Like
Yeah.
that's what you think we do? We're just gonna take it and just, oh, it's clearly owned by somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I guess lately I've just been, like you were saying, it's just the shelters and rescues for some reason are really, really just overcrowded right now. I don't
Hmm.
know what's going on out there, but it's crazy. And so, yeah, I get that a lot where people are, oh, are you no kill? I heard, and I guess just that kind of made me want to write it. But I've definitely had a lot of calls personally that, I've, yeah, kind of tapped into with, you know, to get some inspiration for that. Just picking up dogs, like you said, where people just assume right away, oh, well, how long does he have before you guys kill it? And they don't need to say euthanize or put down. It's always kill. Like I'm going to
Kill.
take it out back and shoot it.
Yeah.
They just have just the ignorance of the public gets to me sometimes. And just that misinformation and that, yeah, just so I've been wanting to say this for a long time, I guess is so finally I have this little platform I made for myself where I finally just said, I'm just gonna write this, and it's just my words, it's my opinion, it's coming from my perspective on this whole topic. And yeah, I just finally put it out there, and I'm really, really glad that it was received so well with other people that are doing this job, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be really offensive to some people, or it was gonna everyone has an opinion about that topic, I feel like, but it's nice to know that there's enough people that think will feel like me about it. So
I feel like there's a
I feel like
whole
there's
lot
a
more
whole
people
lot
that
more.
feel like you and then don't.
But maybe they don't want to say it. And
Yeah.
I think where we on the show with, I mean, I think we do it in a way. I mean, we're here to be opinionated. Like this isn't a show just to like,
Not Daniel. He doesn't have opinions.
but, and I was recently asked to go on someone else's program to kind of bash no kill, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And like, though we just bring up, your blog, it's done in a way that like it's informative, educational, like, and I don't want to just be known for us to have like uh, we don't believe in no kill type of personality on the show. Like we've had best friends on the show as a organization. They've been on the show more than anyone, even more than the Humane Educators of Texas, which says a lot. Like we give them a platform to discuss what they're doing. I just think that like if they wanted to continue to like if they wanted to build the trust of all of us in animal welfare, they would realize that that terminology and that ideology doesn't work, and it creates more divide than it does anything else. And that's what's frustrating is at the end of the day, and what you say in your blog, Jessica, which is really important, and what we say on the show too a lot, is why don't we switch that focus into creating like abilities to spay and neuter pets? Like that's really where the issue is. If we have people, like for example, if Rex wasn't spay or neutered, well, neutered, because in this case, if he wasn't and he was out in the community for those few, you wouldn't have known if he just made puppies. Like there would be no way you would know from him, right? Now, if it's a female, it's going to be different, but like you wouldn't know. And then that's how it all happens in some aspects. I mean, some people do it intentionally because they want to make money or think that they can make money, and then they realize that they can't make money, and then from there it turns into this whole mess of um, who gets the dogs. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, municipal shelter does, because these rescue groups. I actually just dealt with this, um, and I'll be completely transparent with a family member who had a dog that, due to some unforeseen issues, couldn't keep the dog. And so my family was asking me for help. And I'm like, look, I'm happy to help, but you have to understand, like, there's not options. Like you think that you can just call up a rescue that's going to take this not highly desirable adoptable dog. They can pick and choose. And they found that struggle the hard way. They found that it wasn't easy to try to place this dog, and then they were stuck with it longer than they wanted to, because they couldn't. And then they didn't want to take it to the shelter, even knowing what I do and even knowing how I explain like the whole situation. They were like, but we don't want to take him to a shelter because what if he gets euthanized? And I'm like, yeah, that might be, honestly, as difficult as that might be to share, like that might be the best outcome in the long run if an animal isn't highly desirable, whether it has behavioral or medical issues. Um, Maybe that's the best thing for the community. Like we have to think herd mentality, pack mentality here. What's the best outcome, and individualizing it and making it about these numbers, or making it personal when it doesn't necessarily need to, is that's the frustrating stuff.
And I think that's where the whole community gets it wrong all the time.
Mhm.
Is, they don't think about the overall well-being of everybody in the community. So,
And my argument back to them was, what about that dog that's been in shelter for 600 days? Like,
mm,
don't you care about that dog? Like, why do you have such a attachment to this dog, where it's like, why can't we focus our time and effort on moving that dog to somewhere where it might get exposure? Or, when is euthanasia applicable in these situations? So it's hard. And I feel like at some point, um, the trend, and I mean, I'm going to use that term, the trend of no kill will go away, and then we'll be back to operating. It might take some more time to convince some of the people how important it is not to use that terminology. But once we get rid of that trend, we can start operating in a way that does involve us being compassionate and empathetic. It also involves us being practical and focusing on what's important as far as public health and safety, and our team members, our staff members' sanity, trying to
mm.
mix and match and make all these kennel spaces when they don't have access to it.
Exactly. It seems like when I first started this, it was over here and now it's
Mm.
over here, and there was no in between where it just stopped and was balanced. So I don't work in the shelter anymore personally. I mean, I still have to drop off animals and things like that at that building, but it's so different from when I worked there myself. And I'm glad certain things have changed, because I don't like euthanizing for space. Boxes and boxes of kittens that were brought in, there's nowhere to go. So you just spend, hours on end in the morning, sometimes euthanizing, which is horrible. It's not a good way to spend your day, or how to start your day. But at the same time, I feel like they went a little too far to the other side, trying to literally keep and save everything. And I'm like, you're still a county shelter. You still have to make some decisions. Some dogs just are not going to be adoptable. I'm sorry, but they're not going to be okay out there in the public. I'm going to be dealing with them again on a call because they bit
Yes.
some other dog or some other kid, and all that's already happened before. And then it just goes right back. And I'm like, at what point do you make a decision that's, going to be hard, but at the same time, it has to be, right.
Well, and I think if we could start working towards getting the public to recognize that no kill is not the way to go, and work towards getting the programs to get spay and neuter and veterinary care. Think of what it could do for us as a profession, not just um, make our jobs easier potentially,
Yeah.
but also the mental strain, and maybe more people would actually get involved in the profession, and we ourselves would be better off as a community of, animal control officers and shelter staff and things like that. Like, it could be better for everybody. Quality of life for animals and quality of life for us.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And what blows my mind, and this is just an interesting like purview, I guess, or insight into like the whole no kill thing. Like people that work for some of these large organizations preach it. They're out there like save them all, blah blah blah, and then they're at home eating their steak and chicken, and I'm just like, okay, like real, what are we doing
Right.
here? Like either you're gonna like really mean it or you're not, and clearly you don't. So go eat your hamburger and have fun and stop using that terminology. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
And on that note, we really appreciate Jessica's time, and we really appreciate, just your insights and your contributions to the community. If you please send blogs our way so we can get them out. We'll put them out there too. We'll put a link to that blog in our show notes. It was really nice having you talk about your career and talking about like what you've dealt with personally and professionally. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Also, don't forget to check out our Facebook, Instagram, all the socials, TikTok, X. Um, there's probably even more socials out there than I know. Facebook, I said that already. So, like, share, rate the podcast. Please like, share it. Please do that because that helps us. And go to keepinghumane.com. And don't forget to help people. She's about to sneeze. I literally set it up, and Bishop had to mute herself because she's about to sneeze.
Help animals.
And keep it humane. That's great.
Oh, good grief.